You can chain me, you can torture me, you can even destroy this body, but you will never imprison my thoughts. Quoting one of the best sayings of Gandhiji and wishing you all a very good morning, I take this privilege to welcome you all to the virtual celebration of Gandhi Jayanti 2021. I, Fenella Cruz from the Department of Biology, would like to extend my heartfelt greetings to our chief guests, our dear sister administrator, Dr. Sister Genevieve, our principal, Ms. Babita Saldana, the teaching and the non-teaching staff, and last but not the least, our dearest Carmelites. Gandhi Jayanti is indeed a very significant day. It's the birthday of one of the greatest human ever born in India, Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, a symbol of truth, love, and harmony. Let us salute the great soul. Today, the whole country celebrates the 152nd birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi. He was a great follower of peace, truth, and non-violence, or ahimsa. Our Mahatma is highly appreciated all over the world for his simplicity and wisdom of thinking. He was a great man of spiritual enlightenment, a humble leader with a very ordinary lifestyle, just like a sannyasi. His simple living and a high thinking made us dearly call him Bapu. Gandhian principles and his vision about life morale helped us reshape the laws to morality and a way of life. His life was his message. For this reason alone, the United Nations has designated this day as World Nonviolence Day. We together have the honor of commemorating this historic day devoted to our great leader. To begin with, I would like to call upon the students of NSS to invoke God's blessings with a prayer song.
हमको मन की शक्ति देना, मन विजय करे, दूसरों की जैसे पहले खुद को जय करे। हमको मन की शक्ति देना, मन विजय करे, दूसरों की जैसे पहले खुद को जय करे। हमको मन की शक्ति देना। भेदभाव अपने दिल से साफ कर सके, भेदभाव अपने दिल से साफ कर सके, दोस्तों से भूल हो तो माफ कर सके, दोस्तों से भूल हो तो माफ कर सके, झूठ से बचे रहे, सच कदम भरे, झूठ से बचे रहे, सच कदम भरे, दूसरों की जैसे पहले खुद को जय करे। हमको मन की शक्ति देना। एक तू ही भरोसा, एक तू ही सहारा, इस तेरे जहां में
Thank you, dear students, for that harmonious singing. The essence of all religions is one, only their approaches are different. We now have the readings from the Holy Scriptures, the Holy Bible, Bhagavad Gita, and Quran by our very own students.
A reading from the Holy Bible, Philippians chapter 3, verse 5 to 9. Show a gentle attitude towards everyone. Don't worry about anything, but in all your prayers, ask God for what you need. Always asking Him with a thankful heart. And God's peace, which is far beyond human understanding, will keep your hearts and minds safe. Fill your minds with those things that are good and that deserve praise. Things that are noble, true, right, pure, lovely, and honorable. Put into practice what you learned and received from me, both from my words and from my actions. And the God who gives us peace will be with you. The word of the Lord. Thanks be to God.
Reading from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, verse 71. Vihaya kamanyas sarvan pumamscharati nisprahah nirmamo nirahankaras sashantimadhigacchati. He who has given up all desires and moves free from attachment, egoism, and thirst for enjoyment attains peace.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. The word Islam has an Arabic root. It is derived from salama, which means peace. So, the name of our religion is actually peace. Ya ayyuhallazina amanu dkhulu fi silmi kaffatan wala tattabi'u khutuwati shaitan innahu lakum aduwwun mubin. O you who believe, enter absolutely into peace. Do not follow in the footsteps of shaitan. He is an outright enemy to you. Innamal mu'minuna ikhwatun fa aslihu bayna akhwaykum wattaqullahi la'allakum turhamun. Without doubt, the believers are brothers of one another. So, make peace and harmony between your brothers. Islam has been giving the message of peace since the start of time. Even the greetings in Islam, Assalamu alaikum, means may peace be with you.
Thank you, dear students. Some people dream of success while others wake up and work hard at it. We have one such person among us today, our dear administrator, Dr. Sister Genevieve. I now invite our dear sister to share a few words.
Respected principal, staff, students, and parents. Today we are gathered here to celebrate, remember, and honor the father of our nation, Mahatma Gandhi, on his 152nd birth anniversary. On this significant day, let us revisit and emulate the principles with which he led his life and fought for the freedom of our country. His notable contribution was that he fought for our independence by following the principles of peace and non-violence. The Mahatma always fought for what was right and participated in many non-violent movements and led many a campaign like the Dandi March, which was also called the Salt March, in protest against the illegal imposition of salt tax on a basic amenity which was already available, and also, not to forget, the British Quit India movement. He devoted his life to relentlessly working towards the spreading of awareness about the importance of equality, peace, and harmony. Gandhiji was a trendsetter for reforming rights and questioning norms, especially for the underprivileged and those at the periphery. Nay more, when the world says there is no sin, has lost the sense of sin, and says what is in is not sin, here was a man who said, in a matter of conscience, there is no majority opinion. He lived by the dictates of his conscience, and that is the reason why he did not follow the masses, but the masses followed him. Even as we are gathered here to celebrate the birth anniversary, irrespective of caste, class, creed, color, language, I appeal to you, my beloved staff and students, to honor and emulate the principles of peace and brotherhood and sisterhood. Let us build bridges of love and not walls of hatred. God bless you. Happy Gandhi Day.
Thank you, sister, for those enlightening words. Leadership is not a position or a title. It is action and example. I now call upon our dear principal, Ms. Babita Saldana, to share her thoughts.
आंधी में भी जलती रही गांधी तेरी मशाल, साबरमती के संत तूने कर दिया कमाल. The famous musician Jimi Hendrix quotes, "When the power of love overcomes the love of power, the world will find peace." A very good morning, respected Administrator, Dr. Sister Genevieve, staff, parents, and my dear students. Let us consider two facts. Firstly, we all follow different religions, and we know the teachings of our religion. Second, we have read about the principles of Mahatma Gandhi right from our school in social science. The essence of these two is the same: love, forgiveness, patience, and peace. Let's now reflect how much of these values do we imbibe and follow in our real lives. I'm sure the answer is satisfying, because the pandemic has taught each one of us to love more, forgive more, and be more patient. I would like to share a small incident from the life of the Mahatma. Mahatma Gandhi was invited to meet King George at the Buckingham Palace for the Round Table Conference. People saw the Mahatma clad in a dhoti. After the conference, one of the persons from the media questions Gandhi, "Do you think you are dressed with enough clothes?" The Mahatma answers, "I feel King George is dressed with so much of clothing that is enough for both of us." This portrays the simplicity of the Mahatma. The famous bhajan of Mahatma Gandhi ji portrays both Ishwar and Allah. We live in a beautiful country, India, Bharat, which has diverse religions. The beauty of our country is that there is an Ali in Diwali and a Ram in Ramadan. It's very important that we emulate the principles of Mahatma Gandhi ji. October 2nd is also observed as the International Day of Non-Violence. Every religion preaches communal harmony. The approach of Mahatma Gandhi towards religion was Sarva Dharma Samabhav, which means equal respect to all religions. So, dear students, I appeal to each one of you to act as a catalyst in promoting communal harmony. And as human beings, let us not forget the lessons taught by the pandemic and live on to love more, forgive more, and be more patient in the years to come, even after the pandemic, throughout our lives. दे दी हमें आज़ादी बिना खड्ग बिना डाल, साबरमती के संत तूने कर दिया कमाल. A happy Gandhi Jayanti to each one of you.
Thank you, ma'am, for those inspiring thoughts. A man is but a product of his thoughts. What he thinks, he becomes. On this wonderful day, while we celebrate the birth of a noble man with spiritual enlightenment, we at Mount Carmel PU College would like to share some spiritual knowledge with each and every one of you. Our first speaker for the day is Reverend Swami Bodhamayananda, Director, Vivekananda Institute of Human Excellence, Ramakrishna Mutt, Domalguda, Hyderabad. I now invite Ms. Kavya from the Department of Chemistry to welcome Swamiji.
Swami Bodhamayananda is currently the Director, Vivekananda Institute of Human Excellence, Ramakrishna Mutt, Hyderabad. Inspired by the teachings of Sri Ramakrishna and Swami Vivekananda during his school days, Swami Bodhamayananda joined the Ramakrishna Order in Bangalore in 1984 and was initiated into monastic oaths in 1993. After initial training, he served the mission in Hyderabad, Visakhapatnam, and Chennai between 1989 and 2010 and was involved in various youth activities during that period. Swami Bodhamayananda has so far conducted more than 1,000 workshops and seminars covering about 6 lakh students, teachers, managers, and others on human excellence, management, and personality development in schools, professional colleges, and many corporates, several states in the country during the last decade. He has also addressed scientists at Abdul Kalam Research Center and DRDO in Hyderabad, ISRO in Bangalore, advocates of Andhra Pradesh and Telangana High Court, Hyderabad, executives of BHEL and HAL. He has been participating in several seminars, youth conventions, and online sessions organized by the Ramakrishna Mission Vidyalaya since 2 decades. He has taken the initiative to encourage, recognize, and appreciate the leadership qualities amongst the youth and has trained nearly 500 youth in the Swami Vivekananda way. During the ongoing pandemic period so far, he has hosted and participated in 35 live webinars on topics ranging from education, youth power, healthcare, science and Vedic agriculture, Nari Shakti, self-confidence and mental strength, Swachh Manas and Swachh Soch, and name a few.
Om Sahana Bhavatu, Sahanau Bhunaktu, Sahaviryam Karavavahai, Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om. Asato ma Sadgamaya, Tamaso ma Jyotirgamaya, Mrutyorma Amrutangamaya. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om. My namaskars, greetings to the administrator, to the respected principal, and all faculty members of Mount Carmel Pre-University College, Bengaluru. My namaskars, greetings, best wishes to all the students of this esteemed institution. On the outset, I convey my thanks to the administrator, principal, and others for having invited me to speak to all of you this morning on the occasion of the 153rd birthday of Mahatma Gandhi. October 2nd, today, the whole country and in many parts of the globe, this celebration is being observed in a big way. Gandhiji is one of the greatest men ever born in the long and checkered history of India. He fought with the mightiest power, the British Raj in its heyday, with the weapons of love, truth, and non-violence. He forged these three with tremendous conviction, sacrificed his personal life for the accomplishment of freedom of Mother India. Mahatma Gandhi motivated the entire nation to develop self-reliance, fostered communal amity, and worked tirelessly for social harmony. The coming of Gandhiji on the Indian national freedom movement scenario marked the beginning of a new epoch, new times, with three distinct facets. Number one, Renaissance. This number two, Reformation. And three, Revolution. Renaissance of nationalism, Reformation of disrupted social order, and revolution for political freedom. It gave a new face, a new boost to the Indian nationalist movement, which attained a clear and concrete shape, carving out a clear program of action in line with his vision. In this context, I would like to tell my young friends that the Right Honorable V. Srinivasa Shastri, who was a great author, editor, and a statesman in Chennai, he said, Mahatma Gandhi, besides being a paragon of truth, piety, courage, and selflessness, was an embodiment of intense self-examination. Mark the word, intense self-examination. In our language, it is called swadhyaya, self-analysis. This marks the difference between an ordinary man and an extraordinary man. And kind forgiveness, which made him a true Mahatma. Through self-examination, through swadhyaya, he had overcome failures and attained credibility and honesty. Mahatma Gandhi practiced forgiveness to the fulfillment of the teachings of the great saints of India and transformed many men. What was the secret of Mahatma Gandhi's uniqueness, greatness? Simple living and high thinking. Unfortunately, sadly, we feel disappointed and disillusioned when we notice that these lofty ideals of simple living and high thinking, of self-reliance, of patriotism, and other divine qualities which were manifested in a very high percentage by the Mahatma are slowly being eroded. In one way, they are forgotten. They are being kept aside in the modern world. And what is taking place or replacing these lofty ideals? They are conflict and competition. It is time when we celebrate the Mahatma's birthday, Mahatma Gandhiji's birthday, in one way or the other, thanks to the COVID and thanks to the technology, we are able to speak to all parts of the globe through the YouTube channel or the Zoom app or any other thing. The situation is very bright on the one hand and very bleak on the other. My dear young friends and respected faculty members, we have to keep in mind the positive side of life and move on. When we say there's a half glass of water on your table, and if somebody asks you how much amount of quantity is there, a man of optimism, a person of optimism would tell, glass is half full. A person of negativity, pessimism, would tell the glass is half empty. You look at the half side, the water quantity and the emptiness. But can you see the third angle of the triangle? This is what Gandhiji and all the great saints and sages have filled up the gap. What does it say? Bring in the water and fill it up. Do not debate. Do not waste your time in arguing whether the water is half full or half empty. Look at the possibilities. Look at the potentiality. And let's make a difference. There are 7 cardinal virtues which the great Mahatma preached and practiced. Number 1, wealth without work. Number 2, pleasure without conscience. 3, science without humanity. 4, knowledge without character. Politics without principle. Commerce without morality. And worship without sacrifice. These things have to be very, very carefully thought out. It creates a kind of enmity within ourselves. If we try to acquire these things, whether it's wealth, whether it's pleasure, whether it's science, knowledge, politics, commerce, worship, without work, without conscience, without humanity, without character, without principle, without morality, without sacrifice. So dharma, artha, kama, moksha are the main purusharthas in our tradition. The young students participating in this celebration should understand that the desires and the wealth are required. But at what cost? But they should be fulfilled at the cost of dharma. The virtues, the values, the spiritual culture which the great Mahatma Gandhi practiced, and many other great sages and saints till modern times are continuing to practice. In this context, I would like to refer to the 16th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. And in fact, the entire Bhagavad Gita scripture was called Anasakti Yoga by Mahatma Gandhi. The yoga of non-attachment. In the 16th chapter, which is called the Daivi Sampat, spiritual wealth, there are 24 qualities referred to by Bhagavan Shri Krishna, which I shall share with all my young friends. Abhayam sattvasam shuddhihi gnana yoga vyavastitihi danam damascha yagnascha swadhyayastapa arjavam. This is the first sloka of the 16th chapter. Number 1, abhayam, fearlessness. Sattva samshuddhi, purity of heart. Steadfastness in knowledge. Devotion, or should I say, steadfastness in knowledge and devotion. Benevolence, daya, or dhanam. Control of the senses, dhamma. worship or sacrifice, yajna, study of the scriptures, swadhyaya, austerity, tapas, arjavam, uprightness, ahimsa, satyam, krodha, tyaga, shantirapaishunam, daya, bhuteshvalo, luptvam, ardavam, hira, chapalam, non-violence, truthfulness, freedom from anger, renunciation, tranquility, aversion to slander, compassion to living beings, freedom from sensuality, gentleness, modesty, steadfastness. The third sloka says a few more divine qualities. Tejakshama dhriti shaucham adroho nati manita bhavanti sampadam daivim abhijatasya bharata. Vigor, patience, fortitude, harmlessness, freedom from vanity. All these are present in those born to a divine heritage. So this is what we have to think about on this important day in our history. These divine qualities are all locked up in the subconscious mind. By discipline, by sadhana, by various steps prescribed by the scriptures, prescribed by our gurus, we shall be able to manifest this. My dear young friends, where did this inspiration come to Mahatma Gandhi? He had read Swami Vivekananda's teachings, and in his own words, I quote, "I have gone through the teachings of Swami Vivekananda thoroughly, and after studying those teachings, my love for my motherland has grown 1,000 times." And he mentioned in a lecture, in a short lecture which he gave in 1921, after meditating for a few minutes in the room of Swami Vivekananda in Belur Math in Kolkata, which is our headquarters, Gandhiji saw a few young people who had gathered to see the Mahatma and to listen to him, asked him for a few words of advice, and then he mentioned to those young people, please do not go away empty-handed from this sacred and powerful place which has been blessed by Swami Vivekananda himself. Study the teachings of Swami Vivekananda and make a great sacrifice of your life for the entire nation. 4 important points I would like to share. Number 1, I request all of you to think about the power called authenticity. Authenticity, which is the best city in the entire universe. Be transparent, have that integrity among yourself, which means kaya, vacha, manasa, is also a very important tool for Mahatma Gandhi's success, Mahatma Gandhi's contribution to the nation. Integrity, kaya, vacha, manasa. As we say, walk the talk. As the point that you think, be sure that you are going to speak. Be sure that you are going to act. So what is within you will come out through your action and will come out through your speech. Authenticity. The second point is, second value all of you should cultivate is inner grit. Inner grit is very, very important in these troubled times, in these uncertain times. If you can recollect that famous incident where Gandhiji was thrown out of the train on that fateful night, which changed his entire thought process. I would call it a paradigm shift in his freedom struggle, not only in South Africa, in India also. Sitting on the platform, being insulted by the Europeans, by the British, by those who had occupied, were ruling entire South Africa. The apartheid was going on very intensely and seriously. Gandhiji could not speak. but he could think. And what did he think? It seems he took a resolution on the platform. Today, you threw me out of the train. Tomorrow, I'm going to throw you out of the country. He gained that inner grit. The freedom of speech was snubbed, was locked up in South Africa at that time. But that resolution, that inner grit, toughness, that strength to face the adversities is what my young friends should cultivate. All the young friends in the country should cultivate inner grit. Otherwise, for a failure in an exam or in an entrance test or in some event or in any relationship or something, it's sad to see, sad to know, sad to read that the youngsters of 11th standard, 12th standard, of the pre-university age, they are committing suicides or getting in or indulging in wrong things, spoiling their health and bringing some unfortunate circumstances. So please avoid that by developing that inner grit. And the third important thing is sensitivity. Sensitivity plays a very important role in a student's life. Sensitivity here does not mean the common understanding in English. It means crying or complaining and quarreling, depression and all the stuff. So we are not going into that kind of sensitivity. I would like to say here is the sharpness of the mind, understanding, not just sympathy but empathy. Gandhiji understood the real music of freedom movement, whether it was the Dandi March, the Salt Satyagraha, or whether it was the Quit India movement, or whether the non-cooperation movement. That sensitivity was is very, very important in any student's life, in any person's life. So when you have that sensitivity, inner grit and authenticity, you will be a great leader of the country. You will be contributing to the peace, to the strength and health of this great country. So on this great occasion, may the teachings of Mahatma Gandhi, may the teachings of our culture, the great leaders and Swami Vivekananda be of great merit to you, be of utility to you, and all of you participating in this celebration would rise to levels of excellence. Nothing less than that would make Mahatma Gandhi happy, make Swami Vivekananda happy, and make your parents, your teachers happy. Wish you all the best in your life, in your studies, and in your contribution to this country's future. May there be peace in your family, peace in the city, state, country, and in the whole world. Thank you once again. Namaste to all of you.
Thank you, Swamiji, for that wonderful and life-changing message. The best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. We can now witness a short documentary of Gandhi Ji on the relevance of Gandhian principles in times of pandemic by Ms. Shanti from the Department of English and Ms. Neha from the Department of Humanities.
I have simply tried in my own way to apply the eternal truths to our daily life and problems. I have nothing new to teach the world, said great Mahatma on his principles and teachings. It is exactly this application of eternal truths to daily life and problems which make his ideals universal and timeless and relevant in times of pandemic. Mahatma's concept of Sarvodaya, or universal upliftment and welfare of all, is a constant guiding light since his era. Today, when pandemic hits the most vulnerable sections of society, Sarvodaya calls for an introspection on self-respect of village communities and humane treatment of migrant laborers. The concept of ahimsa or non-violence is much relevant as we succumb ourselves to households and the trauma of domestic violence has increased in a drastic level. Educating and spreading awareness on avoidance of crowded places, wearing masks are an extension to this teaching of Mahatma. When our dependency on other nations has increased to an unimaginable level due to globalization, Swadeshi movement asks India to be self-reliant in every domain from basic goods to necessary medical equipments. As if you were to die tomorrow. Learn as if you were to live forever. Now we have our very own Carmelites performing a small skit on Gandhian ideals and its relevance today. The final soliloquy of the film The Great Dictator by Charlie Chaplin in 1940 aims at a non-violent resistance against Hitler's aura of power. It was much inspired by the timeless, universal ideals of our great Mahatma.
I'm sorry, but I don't want to be an emperor. That's not my business. I don't want to rule or conquer anyone. I should like to help everyone if possible. Jew, Gentile, black man, white. We all want to help one another. Human beings are like that. We want to live by each other's happiness, not by each other's misery. We don't want to hate and despise one another. In this world, there's room for everyone, and the good earth is rich and can provide for everyone. The way of life can be free and beautiful, but we have lost the way. Greed has poisoned men's souls, has barricaded the world with hate, has goose-stepped us into misery and bloodshed. We have developed speed, but we have shut ourselves in. Machinery that gives abundance has left us in want. Our knowledge has made us cynical, our cleverness hard and unkind. We think too much and feel too little. More than machinery, we need humanity. More than cleverness, we need kindness and gentleness. Without these qualities, life will be violent and all will be lost. The aeroplane and the radio have brought us closer together. The very nature of these inventions cries out for the goodness in men, cries out for universal brotherhood, for the unity of us all. Even now, my voice is reaching millions throughout the world, millions of despairing men, women, and children, victims of a system that makes men torture and imprison innocent people. To those who can hear me, I say, do not despair. The misery that is now upon us is but the passing of greed, the bitterness of men who fear the way of human progress.
Inspired by the ideologies of great Mahatma, in his last soliloquy, the great dictator says, "Do not despair. The misery that is today is but the passing of greed, the bitterness of men who fear the way of human progress." Yes, let us sail through this hurricane. Let us pass over these miseries. Let us cross over the desert, holding on tight to the ideals, to the teachings, and to the great life of our own Mahatma. Jai Hind.
That was a beautiful documentary of our dear Bapu, a true disciple of truth and non-violence and an idol of humanity. To commemorate Gandhi Jayanti, we had conducted a poetry and sketching competition that was based on the theme, Gandhian Principles During the Pandemic. I now request our dear sister and Babita ma'am to come on stage to felicitate the prize winners of the competition. I invite Ms. Kartikaini, head of the English department, to announce the prize winners of the poetry competition.
Happy morning to all. We, the Department of English, conducted poetry competition with the title Gandhian Principles During Pandemic as a part of Gandhi Jayanti celebrations. The response from our beloved students was amazing as usual. In the first place, I would like to express my heartfelt appreciation to all the participants who gave judges a tough time in deciding the first 3 places. And I'm here honored and proud to announce the prize winners. The first place with cash award of rupees 1,500 goes to Nandita Kumar, 1st PCMBC. And the second place with cash award of rupees 1,000 goes to Natania Rebecca of 1st MEBA. The third place with cash award of rupees 500 goes to Nivedita Rao of 2nd HEPYS. I thank our administrator, Dr. Sister Genevieve, our principal, Ms. Babita Saldana, and Interreligious Association for the opportunity given to our students to express their respect and love for our Bapuji through poetry. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kartikaini. I now call upon Ms. Shriya from the Department of Chemistry to announce the prize winners of the sketching competition.
A very good morning to all. On the account of Gandhi Jayanti, the Art and Craft Association conducted a sketching competition which was open to students of all the streams. We received an enthusiastic response from around 60 participants, of which top 3 entries were selected as winners. We had with us Ms. Sapna Mahesh, a renowned Fevicryl expert trainer, as our esteemed judge. I now call upon the winners on the stage who will be receiving a certificate as well as a cash prize for their excellent portrayal of artwork. The first place goes to Nisa Fatima from First MEBA. She is receiving a certificate as well as a cash prize of Rs 1,500. The second place goes to Aishwarya A from First PCME. She is receiving a certificate as well as a cash prize of Rs 1,000. Third place goes to Chetana V from First PCMB D. She is receiving a certificate as well as a cash prize of Rs 500. Congratulations to all the winners and the participants. I thank our administrator, Dr. Sister Genevieve, and Ms. Babita Saldana for handing away the prizes.
Thank you, Ms. Shreya. Thank you, Sister and Babita ma'am. Thank you, dear students. We now have the recitation of poems by the winners of the poetry competition. We first have Nandita K from First PCMBC, who bagged the first prize.
Gandhian principles during the pandemic. Oh, epitome of integrity, had you now been here, when the world has a quest of desideratum for you to reappear. When humanity encounters a holographic colorless monster, which day by day torments our peace and sows the seeds of fear. O Gandhiji, we owe you the spellbound values you have left for us here. Swachhta, which throws light on cleanliness, is now the requisite to eradicate the virus. Sarvodaya, which focuses on the well-being of all, is now the pivotal desire of the man of this era. You emphasized us to be the change we wish to see. Today, our contribution to follow the safety protocols is indeed a significant change in flattening the deadly curve. You etched in our minds that health is real wealth. COVID made us realize that our health is our priority. Your vision of equality is now victorious, for in these tough times, we saw humble hearts help and serve in glee. The ahimsa you preached evoked patience in man, to wait until a defensive weapon, a defensive vaccine was discovered. Your greatest influence of today is the vitality of time. During curfews, we learned how chores had to be done within time limits. A gentle human with a rare philosophy left his imprint everywhere. Mahatma, the enlightened one, won a war without a sword or a gun. Let's hold it true to our war with the pandemic. With Gandhian principles, we shall survive, howsoever difficult situations may arrive. The relevance of Gandhi increases day by day. Just as a weapon, I would say, let the spirit of humanity increase by implying Gandhian values at ease. Thank you.
Thank you, Nandita. Next, we have Natanya Rebecca from First MEBA. She bagged the second prize.
Be the change. Masked our voice and our face. The virus has left us all displaced. But to speak the truth like Gandhi did, we, the virus of our inner self, must rid. The pandemic has left us hopeless and in despair, how can we, our mental emotions, repair? It all starts with satyagraha, both in speech and in thought, to enable us to see other situation which the pandemic has brought. The real truth will prick us deep. We must resist the widespread evil even in our sleep. We must not hear, see, or speak of it. Let us instead help the pandemic hit. Sarvodaya and Ahimsa should be our main focus. Do not let the change around you change your purpose. Instead, be the change you wish to see. Do not let yourself be blinded by greed. Anger and impure thoughts should be cast away. Let us embrace tomorrow in spite of the rain. Together is stronger amidst the gloom. Unity, ahimsa, satyagraha, and sarvodaya should be our lives' rules. Thank you.
Thank you, Natanya. Next, we have Nivedita Rao from 2nd HEPYS, who bagged the 3rd prize.
Gandhian principles during pandemic. Truth is the reason for human existence. Satya should be followed was Gandhi's insistence. Truth told us the pandemic would be hard to cope, but it also told us there is always a ray of hope. Jobs were gone and frustrations were profound. The world was never this unsound. Together, we did not let the country fall. As Sarvodaya says, think about progress of all. Doctors and police put their life at stake. Even through hard times, they followed Satyagraha for our sake. Be it Mahabharata or Kargil, war always arrives. But we know, be it Dandi March or pandemic, Ahimsa always saves lives. The shortage of vaccines and medicines around the globe continued, but the principle of Swadeshi was valued. Gandhi said, self-sufficiency makes us free. Most of his principles, even scientists agree. Gandhian principles are discipline that we cannot overlook. These teachings exist in Bible, Quran, or the Hindu's holy book. Thank you.
Thank you, Nivedita. When words fall short, music speaks. I now invite the Indian Music Association to render a beautiful medley.
है वतन मेरे वतन, है वतन वतन मेरे आबाद रहे तो, मैं जहाँ रहूँ जहाँ में याद रहे तो, है वतन मेरे वतन। जीना 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 रे उड़ा गुलाल, माई तेरी चुनरिया लहराए। जीना जीना रे उड़ा गुलाल, माई तेरी चुनरिया लहराए। रंग तेरी रीत का, रंग तेरी प्रीत का, रंग तेरी जीत का है लाई लाई लाई। रंग तेरी रीत का, रंग तेरी प्रीत का, माई तेरी चुनरिया लहराए। भारत हमको जान से प्यारा है, सबसे न्यारा गुलिस्ता हमारा है। सदियों से भारत भूमि दुनिया की शान है, भारत माँ की रक्षा में जीवन कुर्बान है। भारत हमको जान से प्यारा है, सबसे न्यारा गुलिस्ता हमारा है। ओ तायगमेनी कलंगादे उनकागवलिകൾ താങ്ങിടുവേ, உயிரிருந்தாலும் என்னை பிரிந்தாலும் உந்தன் பெருமை என்றும் காத்திடுவே। வந்தே மாதரம், வந்தே श्यामलां मातरं वन्दे सुजलां सुफलां मलयजशीतलां सस्यश्यामलां मातरं वन्दे सुजलां सुफलां मलयजशीतलां सस्यश्यामलां मातरं वन्दे.
Thank you, dear students. Happiness is when what you think, what you say, and what you do are in harmony. I now invite Ms. Maria Nikita from the Department of English to welcome our second speaker for the day, a Buddhist monk, Bhante Suniti Bhikkhuni.
Bhante Suniti Bhikkhuni, in robes since 2006, preaching Buddhism in a rational way for everyday practice, Ambedkarite way. Preaching Buddhism through classrooms and at field too, in Buddhist areas, Dalit bastis to OBC communities, Adivasis, and etc. She is the secretary of All India Bhikkhuni Sangha. She has conducted Dhamma lectures, sermons, trainings, and workshops with women, children, families, students in universities, social welfare hostels, social activists, and to prisoners too. Working on training people in robes through Samne Sameri camps, she is representing Indian Ambedkarite Buddhism at various international platforms, educating people about importance of academic education as well as Dhamma in life even during the lockdown period amid COVID-19 pandemic through social media. Before taking robes, she practiced law with master's degree in Mumbai and has worked as legal trainer at national level with various organizations over a period of about 20 years.
Jai Bhim, Namo Buddha. Today I have been given the topic to speak on Panchashi, Four Noble Truth, Eightfold Path and Non-Violence for the student of Mount Carmel School, and I'm happy to give them my views according to the Buddha's teachings. I'm happy because I would be a part of the teachers or the school who is trying to give the knowledge to the student, and I may be a minute part of it to lead you to live a good life with humanity. It's very necessary for the future generation to give them knowledge of morality apart from the academic educations which you get it from the schools through your all other subjects which may help you to live a good life, but morality is the one which will help you to be a good human being. And this morality and being a good human being is coming from the teachings of Buddha. Step by step, I would like to share with you the teachings of Buddhas. As it is said that before starting, everyone greets the teacher. Say good morning, say namaste, or whatever it is according to your culture. You greet the teachers from whom one try to learn. And here, thus the first step from the Buddha's teachings come to bow to your teachers. That is, bow with respect. And how to bow it, many of them they say that it is called Pancha Pranam, but in Pali it is said it is Pancha Patitittha, which includes bowing with your 5 senses, including through these five senses, it makes your mind very clear that your mind is going to the one to whom you respect, and you are asking the teachings, So this is the first step where Buddha says to bring down your ego before learning, before knowing the teachings, or before requesting to the teachers to teach you. The first steps is to bring down your ego, and this ego is lessened only when you bow down. So it is bowing through your five important parts of your body as well as the five senses, and it makes you ready to listen and understand what your teacher wants to give you. This is called the yachana in Buddhism. It is said that without yachana is a Pali word. The meaning of it is requesting. This requesting has a very much importance in Buddhism, as it is said that without request, nothing should be given, otherwise it becomes a waste. If someone gives you, you have to put your hand forward, keep it forward to receive it. If you are not ready to receive it, the one who is giving it becomes waste. It falls down to the earth. So the one who requests, it is said that one is ready to accept it. So this is one thing, the first yachana, where we request that we want to know what teachings you are giving to us, but instead of saying that, we can say that the first thing is it is called in Pali, apradam khamatu me bante. Aprad means crime, and it says that we are asking for forgiveness. Whatever earlier crime we have done it due to ignorance, it is called avidya in Pali, and this ignorance has to be overcome by the teachings of Buddha, or through the teachers who are giving you the teachings of Buddha. So the first request is for asking forgiveness, and the second one is to overcome this ignorance so that no crime happens in future. They say that you tell us the teachings of Buddha so that we can live a very good life. A life with kushal karma. Kushal karma means good work. So these are the first two steps where a student or a human being who want to live a good life, lead a good life, can know the Buddha's teachings, and before that they have to request for it. Without requesting, maybe you may not be able to understand the whole thing. Now, to come out of the ignorance or overcome the ignorance, what is to be done, that we have to understand. Everyone knows Buddhang Saranang Gacchami, but unknowingly, due to ignorance again, people think that we are taking refuge in Buddha by folding our hands, by praying, or doing all type of rituals in front of Buddha's statues or the photographs. But when we try to understand it deeply, it clears that Buddha never said that he will bring you out of your sufferings or whatever problems you have, but he said that he is showing you the path, how to overcome the sufferings and problems. That means we have to walk on the path which the Buddha has shown to us. Again, to understand it, we have to go to the history, how Siddhartha became Buddha. We all know that Buddha was the Prince Siddhartha. He was belonging to a royal family. But when he started for the path of Buddha, to become Buddha, what he did, he had some question in his mind that was disturbing him, because when we say that Siddhartha left Kapilvastu, his palace, everyone says that he, because of that questions which were troubling him, he became a sannyasi. But the real thing is that he did not become sannyasi because of the questions which was troubling him. He would have found it on his own before becoming sannyasi also, before becoming a monk. But he was forced to become a monk due to the fight between the Kolians and Sakyas on the river of flowing in between the two, what we can say, the kingdom. There was a fight for having the water, as it is, as we all know that there is always fight between the Karnataka people and the Tamil Nadu people, for the water. The same way it was there, and it was extended to war. And Siddhartha, because he did not want to war, we can say, not want to, but he did not want war, because he knew that war will lead to destruction of many people of the kingdom. There would be violence everywhere. The people won't be happy, even though the solutions comes out. People won't be happy because they would have lost many lives in this war. So he opposes, and because he opposes, he is declared as anti-national, and the Sakya Sangha of that Kapilvastu declares that he should leave Kapilvastu, and accordingly we can say that Siddhartha has to face the punishment of leaving Kapilvastu because he opposed war. But this punishment, due to which he has to leave his palace, he has to leave his family, he has to leave the people of Kapilvastu, disturbed him. And the disturbance was why there is a conflict between people, why the people fight with each other, why, and he said that these are all sufferings. No one is happy helping each other, no one is happy to be friendly with each other, and he wanted to find out the reason behind it. So, accepting the punishment, he said that he would find out the solution to this. He would find out why people are fighting, why there is a conflict between class and class, why there is a conflict between the people in the same family itself. So he started, and for 6 years, at the age of 29, he leaves Kapilvastu wearing robes. He leaves, and when he come out of Kapilvastu, he tried to meet many Rishi Munis, we say. At that time there were many Rishi Munis who were from the Brahmin community mostly. And he meet them and try to find out why people fight. Why there is no happiness between in any of the people. You know, so he meet many Rishi Munis. He learned many things from them, but he did not find the answer to his question. Lastly, at the age of 35, he says that he himself would find out the answer to his questions. He sits in meditation. He remembers all the past teachings. He tried to understand them. All the teachings of Vedas, all the teachings of the traditions, the rituals. He tried to understand the behavior of the society. He tried to understand all the what is happening in the society, how people behave, and what are the things they are following it. And he finds that there is no answer to his question from all these things. Then it is said that he, while in meditation, it is a chintan, means he is trying to find out the real answer to his questions, and he comes out of it with questions, with the path he finds. And it is said that there is suffering because everyone think of themselves. Their mind is full of anger, their mind is full of hatred, mind is full of jealousy, and all the negative thoughts we can say, because one, what we say as human being, is born with an untrained mind, which is like an animal, we can say, who only knows to take care of themselves, like eating, sleeping, roaming, giving birth. These are the things only they are aware of. But as a human being, when we are born as a child, from the childhood it is said that human being has a mind which can be trained, and if it is trained to overcome all these defilements like hatred, anger, jealousy, they can become a good human being and they can lead a good life. Now, we can say here that what Siddhartha did to become Buddha is to find out the way how he can overcome the, or not overcome, but how can he find out the solutions or the answers to his questions which is troubling him. The same way we can say, going through this process, Siddhartha became Buddha. That is, we know it, the other word used as the enlightened one. But we can say he became the sentient being. Sentient being is a human being with sensible mind. I take it as a sensible mind, because a human being has to be sensible towards others. That is the most important one. So Buddha became a sentient being, or Siddhartha became a sentient being, and what we have to do, what he suggested, or what Buddha wanted a human being to do. Buddha wanted that every person should become a sentient being. Every human should walk on the path of Buddha. Walk on the path of Buddha means we have to try to become a Buddha. We have to try to become a sentient being. And to do that, we don't have to take refuge in Buddha. It is to be understand that we don't have to take direct refuge to the Buddha, but to the path of Buddha, the process of gaining knowledge. That is the process of becoming Buddha from Siddhartha. The same way we are human being as Siddhartha, and we want to become Buddha. So all the problems which we face in our daily life has to be solved through the knowledge which Buddha has given us. We have to follow the teachings of Buddha which he has given us. So following that path, following his teachings is the real step, we can say. The first step, instead of saying real, we can say it's the first step towards our happiness. And as soon as you know that, through example I can explain that if you want to go to some place, maybe example we can take it as Sarnath. Maybe from Bangalore to Sarnath you have to go. What you will do? That place is new to you. So what you will do? First you will find out where the place is, how long it is, how much time it will take by train, by bus or by air. Every minute things, minute knowledge you will try to find out before reaching there, so that you can start your travel. Accordingly, after gaining all the knowledge how to reach there, you will decide in what time you want to reach there and which mode of travel you will acquire. In the same way, we can say that what our problem is, which here again I would like to say, when I say about the problem, it is said that generally it is said that every people who live together, they say that the other one who is living with us should know our problem. But when we understand the Buddha's teachings, Buddha says that if it's an individual problem, you know it very well. Others want to know it. Others can guide you when you tell them your problem. Means what is your problem, you have to tell. Where you want to go to Sarnath, you want to go to Bodh Gaya, or you want to go to Delhi, that you know. And when you put this problem that you want to go there, you will ask ask about it, how to go to others. In the same way, what is your problem, you know very well, and that problem has to be asked to others, those who can guide you. So it is said that every problem, every suffering, individual suffering is known to the one who has that problem. It cannot be known to others. Even if you are suffering from temperature, or you are having a flu or a cold or whatever it is, doctor won't know unless you tell him. So this is what the first Buddha came out with, that the Four Noble Truths, what we say, it is the sufferings. And if you want to know what really the suffering is you know yourself first. What are the defilements in you? What problems you are facing in your life? Instead of saying in life at present what problem you are facing. Because if you are facing the problems now, but you want to find out the solution for the problems in the future, it won't help. So first you have to solve the problems which are in front of you. Then you can move forward to solve the problem of others. Guide them. Solving means guiding them. Because you are ready to overcome your problems yourself. So this thing of sufferings, we can say, this knowledge, that I know my own problem, and thus I have to understand from where it arose. That too others won't know. You should know it. Or if you don't know, you have to find out yourself. What is your problem, from where it arises, when it aroused, you have to find it yourself. And for that you have to go to your past. It's very difficult, but still you can find it out. And when you find out, you feel that, oh, before this I didn't know, I did not take care that there would be a problem. I was very ignorant. If I would have known that time that it may create a problem, I would have not gone through what I have gone now. So, the third noble truth we can say, second noble truth, that you find out the reason, what was the reason, how it arose. You find that you can overcome it. And to overcome it, you feel positive. It's really very difficult in the first step, but if you get the guidance of others, you feel positive. Yes, you can come out of it. It may take time. You can overcome it. And that is the third step, third noble truth, which helps you. If you are full of negativity, you won't overcome your sufferings. But if you are positive enough to overcome it, you will surely overcome it. And the path which Buddha has given, it is said that the eightfold path, if you follow it, you will come out of all the problems in your life. Instead of explaining the eightfold path now, I will tell you that as soon as you understand, you get the knowledge of what the suffering is and how to live a good life. This knowledge will help you to gain wisdom in you. It is called Panya in Pali. And this wisdom will stop you from repeating your mistakes, repeating your wrongdoings, what we say as akushal karma. unless wisdom, you won't, it will be difficult for you to follow it. Follow the good path. So it is said that by wisdom only the ignorance can be overcome. So this leads you to follow the shield. You know, when we talk of the crime, it is said that Buddha has given the 5 act what we do in our life, and this 5 act, if we avoid, means you are following the Panchashil, and this will lead you to a good life without doing any crime. And all these 5 crimes may, if you do it, it may lead you to violence. So this violence has to be avoided. Therefore, the first shield it comes as, we can say, not to hurt others. I know everyone knows the not to kill, but the killing part comes very late. But before that, it comes as hurting. Hurting physically or mentally is also a violence. Hurting ourselves is also a violence. And we can understand here that Buddha says, when you want to hurt others, means you are hurting yourself first. It is like taking a burning coal in your hand to throw it on others, to burn them. But while throwing, you burn yourself first. This is very important to understand. And what a human mind is, it is said that it is like an animal, it is like a monkey, where everyone wants to enjoy their life. And enjoying is a fun. And we have to understand, as a student I am saying, that every student like to have fun in their life from the childhood, and they enjoy it as a fun when they do some mischief. They are very naughty, you know, the childhood is very full of naughtiness and mischievous things. And when they make fun of others, especially, it is hurting the others. And that hurting is when the other person cries or they feel bad, the person feeling fun. The one who is doing it feeling fun. So this fun, you know, it is enjoying the fun, you know, enjoying it. It is like, you know, it's mentally or physically hurting others. So the more rigorous this fun becomes, more enjoyment you are doing it in your life, more making fun of others, it's hurting others. So we have to avoid this. This is where we can say, so this 5 steps what Buddha has said, that even while enjoying yourself, you have to take care that you are not hurting others physically or mentally. And the other 4 shields, it is said that you don't have to be jealous if other one is successing for having some more materialistic things with them, and you don't have it. You are poor or missing something which you don't have in your life. So instead of being jealous with others and trying to steal from others, that is also hurting others. So it may ruin your life and you may go do another crime. In the same way, doing misconduct with others or using bad words, abusing others, and spoiling your mind, damaging your mind by using the drinks or the drugs, you know, it may also lead you to unhappy life. You know, so these are the 5 things which Buddha says, that if you avoid only these 5 things, important 5 things, if you avoid and you follow the Panchashil, you may lead a happy life. And I think apart from academic education and other subjects which may help you to earn your life, earn in your life, to have a good career, this following 5 shields, that is Panchashil, this morality, it may help you to live a good life as a human being while doing your earnings in your career, in your family life, in the society. So it may lead, especially it may lead you to a very, very happy life. So I try to explain what Buddha has said through his teachings in short. So I will stop here. Hope it will help you in your future life. Thanking you. Jai Bhim, Namo Buddhaya.
Thank you, Bhante Sunithi Bhikkhuni, for those entreating words. Live as if you were to die tomorrow, and learn as if you were to live forever. Though we have come to the end of the program, it marks the new beginning of a new tomorrow, ready to be faced with pride, sacrifice, honor, and harmony. On behalf of Mount Carmel PU College, I thank our respected reverend speakers for having enlightened us today. I also thank our dear administrator, Dr. Sister Genevieve, and our principal, Ms. Babita Saldana, for gracing this occasion. Special thanks to Ms. Shanti and Ms. Neha for that informative documentary. I thank the English Association and the Art and Craft Association for taking the time and effort for successfully conducting the poetry and the sketching competition. Thanks to students of NSS and the Indian Music Association for their heartwarming and euphonious singing. The stage would have not been this graceful without the help from the event management team. Special thanks to them. I thank Mr. Vasant and his technical team for recording the entire event. A big thanks to Prashant sir for all the support rendered during the event. And thank you to all my dear Carmelites for your presence. Last but not the least, I thank in a very special way the members of the Interreligious Association for hosting this wonderful event. Gandhiji has said, strength does not come from winning. Your struggles develop your strength. When you go through hardships and decide not to surrender, that is strength. On this auspicious day, let us all try to follow the path of truth and spread the message of the Father of our nation. Let us keep his thoughts alive. Thank you. I now request all of you to kindly rise for the national anthem.
Janagana mana adhinayak jaya he Bharat bhagya vidhata Punjab Sindh Gujarat Maratha Dravida Utkala Vanga Vindhya Himachala Yamuna Ganga Uchchala Jaladhi Taranga तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे